Hello. I'm hoping that everybody can hear me and see me okay. If somebody can put on the comments if you can hear me all right. I'll just check. Yeah, I'm on full volume, so hopefully we're good. Yeah, hear me okay? All good? Okay. My name is Elisa Gray, and I have done several talks for you on here before, ranging from aspects of witchcraft. The last one I did was quite challenging on the witch trials and gendercide. And I guess tonight's is another reasonably challenging topic. And it's a topic that's coming up more and more for me in my own personal path with people that I meet. And that's the topic of ethical cursing. Okay, so obviously that could create a slight oxymoron for some people. How can cursing ever be ethical? Well, that's what we're going to look at tonight. I will start really by saying that I don't advocate using curses. Indeed, in my shamanic path, I remove curses. That's one of the things that I do. But in essence as well, I don't condemn people. If people want to do that, that's entirely up to the individual, and the consequences will, of course, return to that individual. So that's their karmic problem, not mine. Okay, so to begin with, let's sort of think about the origin of cursing, the origin of witchcraft, really. And we are going back to the start of mankind, of existence, when magic it walked hand in hand with everyday life. In Egypt, you had the god Heka, who was so much a part of life they didn't even have a temple to worship him in, because every act that you did on a daily basis was showing worship to Heka because of your existence alone. And Heka walked beside you through life. From birth, he walked beside you when he died and took you into the afterlife and walked beside you in the afterlife. It was a continuous thing. And across the world, really, magic was also pre-medicine. People went to the magic person for cures, healings, all sorts of things. There were magic shops in ancient Rome where you could go and buy a love spell or equally a curse. And curses weren't considered to be dark magic. Now, I'm going to use the terms white and black magic in this talk. By no means any kind of racism or race in anything to do with race intended. Black magic merely is the old term for evil magic, and white magic for healing. And these terms were used a lot at the time, and it just kind of makes sense for what I'm saying. So basically, in ancient Mesopotamia, they divided magic practitioners between good white magic and evil black magic. And white magic was practiced by somebody called a baru. And that person was a diviner. So the diviner were a seer. And then they had the black magic, which was the kasapu. And everybody was frightened of the kasapu. Curses didn't fall into black magic. What was black magic was harm. Anything designed to do permanent and terrible physical harm on somebody, or death. Curses could be something stupid like encouraging the neighbour's dog to bite you. You know, oh, I hate that guy across the road. I'm going to I curse him for the neighbour's dog to bite him on the bum. It was something simple. That curses were kind of different at the time in the minds of the people than a black magic, which was much darker, much deeper, and much more harmful. And of course, the code of Hammurabi, the ancient Babylonian code, put a death sentence on anyone who used magic to harm somebody else. And basically that was you dead. If you were proven to use magic to harm somebody, that's how serious they took it. Also, curses were used to subdue the people. In ancient Greece, they said, you crowd, calm down or we'll curse you. And people, oh no, better stop it, So a form of law and order. Businessmen in Greece would carry a curse tablet to protect their business. The kolossoi, the little Greek puppets that were all sort of twisted with the nails in the eyes and tied up, they were used to protect property. So curses were actually a part and parcel with the ball, the whole ball of magic. Black magic was something far, far, far worse. So this is ancient times. This, of course, is, the classical world. And in Egypt, curses were again used for protection. You often hear them talking about the curse, Tutankhamun's tomb, the curse on the tomb. Break in and you'll get something bad happen to you, because you shouldn't be messing with, with the resting place of the dead. So protection, sort of warding people off. Obviously, a lot of warding off of evil spirits was done in the ancient world. They're very aware of evil spirits. And any evil coming towards you was considered, you ward it off, and that was considered to be part of a curse. So not necessarily the same as the word curse and what that brings now, what that brings forward in the modern world. Coming forward, when the Bible was written, the Old Testament in 1200 BC, all magic was seen as bad. So whether that was white or black or whatever, the whole parcel was viewed as being to do with the devil. And obviously, I've talked about that before, how that obviously carried on and sparked off the witch trials, the Spanish Inquisition, etc. But coming into the UK with traditional witchcraft, and pre-Druid, pre-Celtic Britain, pre-patriarchy, when women sort of ruled the show, it was very much the rules of nature. So as people sort of progressed and tribal life turned into more civilised life and coming into the cunning folk, again, if you had a problem with the neighbour, you could go down the street to Granny, Granny cunning lady, and say, the neighbour's bothering me. They've hurt my dog and they've threatened my children and there's little things going on. And Granny would help you curse the neighbour to make them leave you alone. This didn't mean killing the neighbour or harming the neighbour physically. It was a protection. It was a way to stop the neighbour, to make them leave you alone. And equally, you could go to Granny and get your herbal remedy and your cure for whatever that you needed. So Granny would curse or cure, heal or harm. Basically, the two-fork path that people have talked about a lot with witchcraft. Obviously, for these things to even take effect, the question is, do we need to believe in them? There's one school of thought that think yes. No magic works unless you believe in it. The misnomer with voodoo. Voodoo, somebody will put that dead chicken outside your door and it makes you die. For a start, that's not voodoo. Voodoo's a religion. And that's a big, massive insult to voodoo, because it's a religion, it's very, very organised religion with deities and very respectful. It's, a Western misnomer. But if we're sort of going into hoodoo, folk magic, which is some voodoo mixed with witchcraft, mixed with Native American magic, the power of the mind, the frightening of somebody is said to make it, to increase it. And yet, if we pop up to Boscastle in Cornwall, we'll see an array of curse puppets where people didn't know they were being cursed. You're supposed to keep it a secret, but the curse still works. So the power of belief versus it works anyway. To make what makes a curse work, what makes magic work, what makes, and obviously a curse more importantly. Now, obviously, in the 21st century, as a modern witch, even though I'm a traditional witch, I hasten to add, I'm an article writer, and I write many articles for many magazines, and I shy away, naturally, from talking about dark magic, and I put curses in my head, curses, will sort of more metamorphosise really into dark magic now. It's not, making the dog bite somebody anymore. And I shy away from writing about it because obviously, The implication being, oh, I'm a witch, so I can do it. If people think I can do it, then I'm going to bring back the stereotype of witches to do with evil, which is something I'm trying to get away from. But I got my article sent back to me by the editor of the magazine, and he said, you've not included any curses, dark magic. I said, well, I didn't think that was particularly appropriate, you know, for the... He said, oh, no, you know, it's becoming very popular. You know, he said, I don't know anybody who follows the rule of 3. You know, the sort of the karmic rule of 3. He said, most people I know, you know, they just do whatever they feel like. And I'm like, oh, okay. Which, you know, I sort of thought, well, okay, that's a generalisation. You know, I don't know. I can't say a number of people who do that. But it set me off thinking. So, we can break curses down. First of all, there's the jinx. I've got a cat called Jinx. It is a jinx, you know. It causes me short-lived problems. And that's exactly what a jinx is. It's so basically, it's causing somebody an upset. You know, that's the dog biting somebody, I guess. You know, I'm gonna jinx the next door neighbour's dog's gonna bite him on the bum, or his roof's gonna fall in, or he's gonna trip on something, you know, and bump his head or whatever. A hex, on the other hand, this is where the sort of the sending out of negative energy really begins. But it's got a time limit to it. So it'll cause, you know, something inconvenient, harmful to a certain degree, but it'll finish, it'll end. Normally when the person who's upset you learns their lesson. Then, of course, there's the curse, the actual curse. And this is something that can literally go for generations. It can go through time. In shamanism, back in Siberia in the Paleolithic period, there was one group of shaman who did nothing but curse. That's all they did. And they could curse backwards. They were able to curse your ancestors and, you know, so granddad, grandma, great-granddad, great-grandma, and send this curse backwards and forwards through time. And these can be very hard to remove. These curses can be, you know, incredibly hard to remove. So the question is, why? Why would somebody want to do that? Why would, as a race of people, we like to believe in karma in a way. You know, that bad people get their just desserts and good people get, you know, a break at some point and get something nice happen to them. And some witches feel that they are merely the hand of karma. So should they see something that is wrong, you know, man hangs cats on washing line, you know, does he deserve some payback? You know, man murders somebody, does he deserve some payback? And this is sort of looking at the world in personal situations. Some people who've been deeply hurt by somebody else, life ruined, you know, terrible things done to them, do they deserve the right to curse that person? And this is now a very, very hot topic. Obviously, in the modern world, witches have had to fight tooth and nail to be seen as anything other than a harmful creature, explaining that we heal. As an example, my boss of 35 years, when I you know, he got a copy of my book, and he says to me, he says, you know, I didn't know you were a witch, babe. He's a white one, though, he went. Bang, straight away, you know, as soon as he knew, you know, that yes, I practice witchcraft, I am a witch, straight in there, you know, a white one, though, the fear, the immediate fear, you don't do, you know, black magic, do you? You don't do dark things, do you? That kind of implication. We've been fighting this forever, you know, so why all of a sudden does a group of people come along and say, no, actually, we're entitled to curse people if we want to? You know, if somebody's hurt me, I'm going to hurt them back. You know, if somebody's done this, I'm going to do this. And this is becoming more and more popular. Wiccans out there, you'll be thinking, no, you can't do no. Oh, the Wiccan Rede prevents, you know, harm none. That's it. Simple. Wiccan is a religion with rules. But traditional witchcraft isn't. Anything goes, basically. And the talk of the karmic debt. There's a wonderful book about folk witchcraft by a chap called Roger J. Horne. And in it he writes, no, there's no, I've never, he said, you know, he's cursed people. And he's never had any karmic payback whatsoever, in his opinion. But he said it changed him. And he found that, he said it's like sucking a penny. You know, you can taste the taste long after you've stopped doing it. You know, the stain of it's in your mouth. And he felt that it had changed him. And that he began to start to attract more dark energy. I suppose in modern terms, we've only got to think about Darth Vader, haven't we, really? You know, and good old Emperor, you know, Emperor Palpatine, because you get the more he does, the more dark magic he does, the uglier and more deformed he gets. The more it stains him, the more it changes him and darkens him. And that's the sort of idea that even if you don't get, you know, a terrible accident or something horrible happen to you, that over time this builds up and causes a change within you, which, you know, is not necessarily a good thing. But yes, there's a couple of examples here, interestingly, about curses. And a coven in New York, very recently, put a hex on Brett Kavanaugh because he was accused of some sexual misconduct charges, but he still got the job. You know, he still became, you know, this court justice guy. He still got the position, even though it had these sexual charges. So a coven of witches decided to hex him. They also, another coven did some sort of ritual when Donald Trump was being, you know, in for being re-elected, to stop him from being re-elected. And, you know, there was some priest going on and on about, oh, the witches are cursing Donald Trump. And the coven leader said, no, we're not. We're just stopping him, you know, from being re-elected. But, of course, it's in America. And in America, there's a massive sort of push forward reclaiming of witchcraft. And a lot of people, you know, are sort of re-embracing the evil, in inverted commas, with the sort of the notions of cursing. So, are we the hand of karma? Are we entitled? Some people think that witches are divine beings and that we've been put here for a reason. In that respect, are we allowed, you know, to see something wrong, be judge, jury and executioner, as it were, and send out some bad energy and sort of finish the job on somebody else? This is one for you to decide for yourself. What warrants that? What could be so bad done to you that would warrant you doing something horrible to somebody else via the power of magic? Judging by sort of old terms, when we think about curses, yeah, you know, that would have been part and parcel of everyday life at one time. Using magic to protect yourself, using magic to sort of rid yourself of your enemies, and prospective burglars or anything like that. And it would have been perfectly acceptable in the times of traditional witchcraft, back pre the witch trials here in the UK. Even the Pendle witches, if one recalls, Granny Demdike was actually described as a cunning woman. And when Alison cursed the peddler, and he proceeded to have a stroke, and obviously one will never know whether that's to do with the stress of being harassed by a young girl or whether the curse worked. the judge and jury sort of said to her, can you take this off? Can you take this curse off, this man? And she said, no, but my grandmother could. But unfortunately, Granny was dead by then. But the notion being that the witch was a different creature to the cunning woman. Even sort of then, you know, at that time of that trial, 1612, I believe, the definition of witch, the witch put the curse on, the cunning woman could take the curse off. And yet, you know, this is ultimately the same, we see now, you know, in the modern era, that this is the same kind of thing, you know, that the cunning people were simply, you know, not claiming the title witches at the time because they were linked with medicine. So, yeah, does a curse work? Looking at other puppets in the Museum of Witchcraft and Magic, yeah. I can't see why people would carry on making them, or, you know, going to extreme lengths to do these things if it didn't work. Would I ever do it? Well, you know, I mean, that's one of those questions, isn't it? You know, where how do you judge that? You know, could you ever feel justified? You know, if something that terrible was done to me, you know, could I justify that? I've certainly heard stories of things that have happened to people where I've thought, you know, you'd be very tempted. Should you feel that you could do that? Karma. But going back to Wiccan, you know, the absolute no, you know, the absolutely, under no circumstances, ever. These ideas of curses, of jinxes, of hexes are just not entertained at all within the Wiccan religion. So yeah, it's kind of one that's keep your ears open, because this one's going to go on. I mean, obviously in the modern world we've got the choice, you know, now. Obviously traditional witchcraft, Wiccan, ancient sort of orders of magic. There's so many different things, you know, different aspects of magic that we can get into. We're not just sort of stuck in one time era anymore. So we've kind of got access, you know, to the world, the big world that these people in the past didn't have. You know, they were just simply, you know, taught what they were taught. They did what they did, whether it was deemed wrong, right, or whenever at the time. But now there's so much open, you know, sort of open to learn, to read, and to think about. Of course, this was going to come up. Of course, you know, with it being the sort of the notion of the witch, you know, the hat and the broomstick, or, you know, doing curses. Of course, sooner or later, somebody was going to go, do you still curse, or do you agree with curses, or don't you, or what, you know? So, of course, a debate comes up. So, yeah, I mean, that's one, I think, for a bit of research on your part. Check out, you know, sort of look back at ancient Mesopotamia, really when the division between white and black magic was put into place. Again, you know, curses weren't part of black magic, and curses were mainly used by men. It was quite a male-dominated thing. And yet, sadly, women were still plopped into black magic, even back, you know, as far as ancient Mesopotamia. I mean, obviously, being a feminist, you know, one of the things I always think is, you know, that men thought they could control magic and women couldn't, and therefore, you know, stick the woman in the untrustworthy set. You know, it was very, very patriarchal to me. For me, that's how I see it. And, you know, and obviously men wielding the curses and everything because they could control that sort of thing. Rubbish. But, yeah, check out ancient Mesopotamia. When they sort of put the division in of white and black magic. Check out ancient Rome, the magic shops where you could buy a curse, and witches, women witches in ancient Rome were seen as sort of rat-like, grey-haired, pathetic things that came out at night. You know, they weren't taken seriously really in Rome. Obviously Greece with the curse tablets and the kolossoi. coming all the way sort of into you know, Egypt and the curses on tombs and different things that were done there, into traditional witchcraft and the rules of nature. You know, if you can do it, do it. If you can't, don't, sort of thing. And it was very much used for protection. Coming all the way into now, you know, with America, people reclaiming different traditions, different ways, and see what do you think? You know, what do you think to that? Would you ever do it? You know, what would you do? You know, do you feel that there would ever be a time when that was justified? I mean, I've checked it out, and you can even go online and find curses. You know, it's like 2 clicks of a mouse and there's a curse there, you know. And some of them are really quite nasty, you know. It's like, oh, yeah, that's quite... Oh. So, do you think there are any consequences? The rule of 3, the karmic rule, the Wiccan read. Do we get something back if we do that? Or are we justified if our issue's bad enough? I'd love to know your thoughts on it. So please put some comments down there. I'll check them all and reply. Send me a private message if it's something that you'd love to debate or chat about. I'd love to know your thoughts on this one. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed that. I've been Elisa Gray, and it's been a pleasure to talk to you, and have a lovely rest of your evening. Thank you very much.